In the name of God. Hello and welcome to TRNG plugin development tutorial series. Tutorial 0, Introduction and Plugin Concept. So this is the very first video on how to create and develop your own plugins using the TRNG engine and your skills in programming. So let's go to the video. The main question that you might have already asked yourself is that what is a plugin? A plugin is a dynamic linked library or DLL used to create or implement brand new features for an application or software and to extend its abilities in doing a specific task. So from this sentence, from this statement, you can gather that plugins are not only for TRNG engine or basically not for games only, but for every software, every application that you see out there can somehow be extended using the power of plugin development. A plugin for TRNG is a DLL that is attached to our main game engine at runtime and controls some of its predefined behavior, such as how the main menu UI graphics look like, how a specific enemy behaves inside a level, how we control a specific vehicle, how memory is managed for our game, and a lot of other things, which we will discuss in the next sessions. Each plugin can either create, extend, or replace a feature that is already defined inside the engine. So the plugins can do three things in general. They can either create a new feature that didn't exist previously in our application, they can either extend the existing features, or they can replace the features that were already defined inside our application. You can even customize some of the behavior of TRNG's core library, which is Tomb Next Generation DLL. We're going to talk about it in a few next slides. So now you might have asked yourself that what is a dynamic linked library? The term dynamic linked library, or DLL for short, in programming is used for a compiled file, that there was a programmer and we used an IDE, we used a compiler to compile it, that contains data which can be loaded by an executable, the exe file on Windows, and customizes the behavior of the executable itself. It is dynamic because it is not embedded statically to the executable itself, and it is not enclosed to it at build time either. The application loads the DLL dynamically into your system's memory and starts executing it. It is linked because the application links the DLL contents to itself. It is library because it acts as a library for applications which can be referred to at any time. So now this is not actually dumb if you had thought of this question, but maybe a very simple question is why plugins are actually called plugins. It's pretty simple. It is because they are somehow plugged into the application at runtime, as we previously discussed in the recent slide. So yeah, it's like a plug. You plug it into your executable. The main question is, why do we need to create plugins for our game? Well, what's the purpose? The main purpose of creating a plugin for our TRNG game is for innovation and difference. So before we continue, now you might have asked yourself that, what do you mean by saying innovation and difference? Well, by innovation and difference, I mean you really can continue building a big project using only TRNG or Tomb Editor or whatever engine you're using at the moment. But if you have chosen to take the path of creating a plugin for your game, you must be a very innovative person. Why? Because this path is only for people who want to create something different, create something new. bring something fresh to this old-fashioned engine, and that's the main purpose of creating plugins. And even you can be maybe you have thought about this, maybe you are also a programmer that wants to gain experience and learn a lot out of C++ language, or learn the mechanics of a simple game. I don't know, it really depends on you. But the main purpose is innovation and difference. In other words, TRNG engine can be extended to places where you even can't think of. You can still create amazing levels without a plugin, of course, but you may use this power as a platform to innovation in this old-fashioned engine, as I already mentioned. Can we all make plugins, or we need additional programmers for our projects? Well, the good news is anyone can code. No age limitations, no high mathematics degree, and no high computer knowledge. So this means that in this tutorial series, I'll try my best to explain you each piece of code as soon as we start writing in C++ language and working with our IDE. You'll completely realize that you're starting to learn a lot out of this video series, and I hope that it can lead to very good places. Are there any prerequisites? Well, to be perfectly honest, you only need a PC which can run TRNG and its utilities, like, I don't know, VAD merger for creating our VADs, SWD edit for editing our sprites inside our game, which we will discuss later. And for this tutorial series, nothing else is required. And now you might ask yourself, aren't we going to code? And the answer is yes. And you might ask with yourself that, okay, if we're going to code, do I need to know how to program in C++? Do I need to know how to program even a simple language? Well, the answer is, for this moment, if you have the knowledge, it's perfect. But if you don't have, it's not a bit of problem. You will learn as you start watching these tutorial series. You will start to learn how to program in C++, you'll learn the concepts, you'll learn the basics. So I really don't think that you need such experience and such knowledge. But if you already have, it's perfect. It's going to help you a lot in these tutorial series. What's the concept of plugin and how TRNG manages all the work? So we're going to have a look at this chart. Look carefully. This is your operating system at the top. Your computer is made out of a central processing unit, CPU, which is responsible for arithmetic and logical operations on your system. You have a random access memory, or RAM, where all the data that must be kept, must be preserved by each application is saved there. And you also have a graphics processing unit, or GPU for short, which is responsible for rendering 3D objects at runtime, creating effects, and everything you see on your monitor is all thanks to this part, this hardware. So as soon as you start double-clicking on your Tomb4 executable in your editor folder, or as soon as you start running the game, the TRNG engine starts getting executed by the CPU. So in this way that it starts sending some specific instructions to the CPU, and the CPU will do all the necessary calculations for the game to pop up, for the game to load. Then our game will start communicating with our graphics processing unit and starts preparing a window for our game, which everything should be rendered there. And then it will start loading all the necessary data, such as the data for objects, for levels, for whatever, into our random access memory. So this is TRNG engine, cut and dry, nothing else. So now we also have a tomb next generation.dll in our main TRNG directory, which it can't work without this DLL, because these two work interchangeably. with each other, and this is very important. So as after the TRNG engine is loaded successfully, it will order the Tomb Next Generation DLL to be loaded into memory. As we previously discussed, dynamic linked libraries must be first loaded into our random access memory and then starts getting executed by our CPU. So after this DLL has been successfully attached to our TRNG process on Windows operating system, they will start communicating with each other, and TRNG uses some predefined functions that is stored in that library. Functions like executing a trigger group, executing an organizer. If you are familiar with TRNG scripting, you might have already heard these names, or extending some of the features of this old engine. So Tomb Next Generation DLL is it's still a DLL, but it's a part of TRNG engine, which they both can be separated from each other. Moving on to the left, this is your plugin underscore my plugin DLL. So all of the names of these dynamic link libraries must be started with a plugin, or else the TRNG engine won't detect them. So this is something that we will discuss later. It's not mandatory at this moment. So to the left, you have your DLL. It is ready. It is stored in your level editor's directory, and it is ready to be attached to your TRNG engine. Again, the same process will be done for your plugin. It will be loaded into the random access memory, but this time the communication between your plugin and between the Tomb Next Generation DLL is a little bit different. TRNG actually uses callbacks in order to communicate with your plugin, and if you want to know the meaning of the callbacks, is that TRNG sends a message to your plugin in any terms. It will, for example, ask you, hey plugin, what are you doing at this moment? And the plugin, as an example, answers, I'm in the TRNG actually reports that it's in the main menu. The game is now in the main menu phase, and the plugin will say, okay, I'm ready to order you to render some required graphics, some customized graphics. This is how actually TRNG communicates with your DLL, and it is very important to know that it's a little bit different from how TRNG communicates with Tomb Next Generation DLL. And the actually U-turn arrow means that TRNG, when it sends a message to your DLL, it expects the message to come back. Otherwise, your game will hang and will not continue anymore until a function, until a result is received. Otherwise, it will get not responding, or it will crash. So we will discuss actually this in future videos. So just note that we will hear a lot about the term callbacks in plugin development. It's very important. Just be familiar with it. There's no need to memorize all of these definitions. You just have to be familiar with these words, and it's not that hard. I hope so. So you can take a screenshot from this chart. You can have it for yourself and see this roadmap. It might help you, or you can actually skip. So we will go to the next slide. You might ask yourself that which programming language is used to develop plugins? C++ language is used to code our plugins. Why? Well, there are a few reasons. First, C++ is a low-level programming language, and low-level means that it's somehow a little bit easier for us to communicate with low-level hardware, such as our graphics card, as we are doing. Actually, this is our goal. This is our plan to work with the graphics aspect of our game in the first place. So C++ is a low-level programming language, and it has its own pros and cons. I'm not saying that this is a perfect feature, but we will always look at the half glass full. In C++, we have a term pointers. You might have already heard or you might not have heard, so this is not a problem. Pointers give you a lot of flexibility in customization, and by pointers, I mean, let me actually tell you something like this. There is something inaccessible in TRNG that you can't customize it only using a script. You can't customize it. You can't handle that specific event. And pointers are somehow act like tunnels between your plugin and the TRNG engine and the game you're customizing it. So we will actually discuss this technically in the future. So no worries on that if you don't know what a pointer is. The games engine itself is written in C and C++. As you already know, most of the game engines out there are written with C++ language nowadays, especially back in that day. And as a little bit of assembly is also used, but there is no need to actually learn assembly because it's a little bit complicated as a language, and we won't discuss it until it is necessary, but I don't think it's going to be something very crucial. And yes, as I said, it can be interconnected with assembly language. We will learn, as I already said, there's no need to worry. We will learn how to code with C++ as we progress through the tutorial series, so don't worry if you have no knowledge in C++ programming. Do we need to code everything from scratch? So you might have asked yourself that. Aren't there any platforms, any pre-made SDKs or software development kits that we are going to work with, or anything that we program based on it? The good news is that fortunately there is a plugin SDK. SDK stands for Software Development Kit, designed by Paolone himself, and there is no need to define the primary callbacks all by yourself. So you might have got worried a little that how am I gonna define all of these callbacks inside my DLL? Oh, that's too complicated. But fortunately, all of these systems are made already. There is no need to write everything from scratch. We will dive into the process of coding as soon as we set up our environment in the next video, and there is no need to worry about anything right now. You can mainly focus on what you want to achieve, starting one step ahead. Thank you so much for following me until the end of this tutorial video, and this is the end of tutorial 0. I hope you have already enjoyed watching this video. This was just an introduction, and I wanted to introduce you the whole plugins concept, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Please subscribe, drop a like, and leave me in the comments what kinds of questions you have. And it's very important to leave your comments, leave your questions in the comment section down below, because other people might have already have this question in their minds, and when you ask them, there is no need for that question to be asked millions of times, and I hope you can understand this. So thank you so much again, and have a very nice day. See you in the next videos. Have fun and good luck.